number 70, Abuelo and the Nieto talking Miami sports. Over there, the Nieto, here, the Abuelo. And we're going to be talking about the Canes' tremendous win and
Yeah,
going to the College National Championship game in Miami. You cannot ask for more. And also, of course, a lot of information, news coming out of Dolphin camp. McDaniel no longer with the team, and we have a new GM also. Inter Miami information, a lot of moves Inter Miami is doing as they look to the 26th season. And Tyler's got a very interesting feature with a UN player, also Miami Sports Trivia. And this is presented by Balado Tires, two locations in Miami to serve you better. Right, Tyler?
that's right. Balalo tires, and we're also going to talk about. Well, we always dedicate our episode to somebody who wore the corresponding number. This is episode 70. So somebody who I got to watch growing up had a pretty long NFL career, almost a 10-year NFL career, which kind of surprised me. Number 70. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about John Feliciano. Hey, like you said, 10 years in the NFL. He did well in Miami as a guard, but, actually, he had a very good career in the NFL and, Puerto Rican ancestry. John Feliciano. Of course, we have other Felicianos, which are very famous, right? Uh, Jose Feliciano, El Cheo Feliciano, a salsa singer, which you probably
Felicia.
do not know. So a lot of Felicianos.
Well, moving. I said another special Feliciano is Felicia here. But we got now our Miami Dolphins talk. I mean,
No,
two
we're
ways we
starting
can.
with the Canes
Oh,
today.
you want to start with the Canes? Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
that's
Don't you
right.
think they deserve to start? That we should start with them?
I think we
Yes.
should focus on the positive things. And yeah, last night was, I mean, one of the best college football games I've watched in a long time. Just complete back and forth. Before we start talking about the Canes, that quarterback from Ole Miss, I mean, I love watching him. He played his heart out. Really impressed me. But yes, great game from Miami last night. Malachi Tony, of course. I mean, we saw him
Would
take
you
a pretty.
say, Tyler? Would you say that he might have been one of the top I don't know 2 or 3 players on that field, even though he's a freshman and he's around 18 years old? Would you say that?
He should be playing in a high school game right now. He's supposed to be a senior in high school. This kid, and yeah, he was because it's not just when you look at a guy like that, a little skinny slot receiver like him, you expect, maybe a gadget player, a fast guy, quick, makes people miss, but he is a complete receiver. This guy makes one-handed catches. When he's blocking people, he puts them on their butt. I mean, he looks like he's my size, and he's blocking people, linebackers to the ground. Just a tremendous football player. I mean, my fingers are crossed that he stays healthy because that's a guaranteed first round pick, regardless of his size, in my opinion. So, very impressed by him. Um, if Carson Beck played well, I would have said it, but he didn't, and I think you know that. I think he did well enough to win the game, but he almost threw away the game at the end by throwing that pass right into the defender's hands. Luckily, the guy dropped it. But and I also saw something interesting, which is worth pointing out that a lot of people, especially like draft analysts, pointing out that Ruben Bain didn't have a lot of production last night. No sacks. I don't think any tackles or anything like
And
that.
very few tackles, very few tackles. Also,
Six pressures though.
yeah.
So you got to understand when a team is facing a player like that. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman at Ole Miss, all week in those meetings, they're probably tired of hearing Ruben Bain's name. So just for him to get six pressures and affect the game like that shows you the type of player that he is. And then you got Mesidor, who was injured and still fought through it. So very impressed by this team.
I think Tyler also, and tell me if I'm wrong, and as a former player, you probably know this. I figure that part of what UM was doing is taking away those running lanes from Trinidad because he can kill you, and you look at his numbers, and his numbers were down, especially running the ball. He got like 7 net yards running with the ball. So a guy like that that can really kill you coming out of that backfield and scrambling. They took a lot away from his scrambling ability, and that has to do a lot with those lanes that those defensive ends have, and the position that Miami was putting him. They were putting him in an uncomfortable position, and especially in the first half. I go back, Tyler, what we have said about before. That physicality again was the factor, one of the major factors in the game. Having the ball for more than 41 minutes. Uh, you look at the way play, Tyler, from top to bottom, and in almost every aspect of the game, they showed to be the better team. Miami just had a lot of penalties, 10
Yeah.
in very bad moments. They dropped three INTs, but overall, Miami could have won this game by 10, 14 points because at sometimes in the game, not all the time, but most of the times, they were dominant.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, and I couldn't help but think this, and it's a pointless thought. It's a hypothetical, but what if this team had Cam Ward? I mean, think about that for a second. How ridiculous.
Oh,
I don't think.
you're putting back down again. No,
Oh, well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I feel you feel bad for Cam Ward because you see him last year playing his heart out, and the defense was the problem. This year, that defense is impressive. So yeah, it just made me think about that. But at the end of the day, Carson Beck made it happen last night. I mean, he could have forced the throw there, which is something that, and I'll give him credit for that because
Tyler,
that that
he made some very nice throws. Also, you're referring to the throws that were not good, and there were some, but he made some very good throws also, and some decisions that were good also during that game, and not only that game, Tyler. Go back 2 weeks. He's been playing at a pretty high level, and that's why they have won those games also. Uh, I agree that Concord probably would have done better. I agree, but he's part of their success. Carson Beck is part of their success. He's been a major player.
Yeah, I mean, if you say so, I think it's just when I watch it, I just see a team that is would be just be taken to another level if they had a great quarterback. I'm not even saying he's been playing bad. I just think like when you look at a great team and then they have a good quarterback, you just makes you wonder, how much better would this team be if they had the Heisman winner that they had last year? I think we can all agree, while he played okay, he's not a Heisman winner quarterback either. Um, but that's timing, things work. And like I said, at the end of the day, Carson Beck's problem during the regular season a lot of the time was forced throws, in pressure, just trying to get the ball out. And he could have done that last night, with what, 15, 18 seconds left in the game. He could have forced a throw on that goal line. He decided to tuck it and run, which is something he doesn't do a lot, but he did it and he scored. So he made the right decision when it
I was
mattered.
a play. I was a play that was a difference in the game.
Yeah.
Now, Tyler, future, and we're going to get into that a lot more next week. But I look for Indiana to be there. I look for Fernando to be there on the 19th, and this is a different animal, Indiana. Now, Miami, out of all those teams playing at home, I still think that they might have the best shot. But Indiana is another thing. So I don't know if you see it that way. I don't want to get into details now because we got to keep going. But I think you sort of agree, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've talked about it already. I think just knowing the kid, I feel confident saying it, but everybody looks great until they run into Fernando Mendoza. That's just somebody, very impressive player. I mean, yeah, it would be an interesting turnout because you see a guy like that who comes into every game so prepared. You know that he's going to have studied every in and out of this Miami defense. He's going to study the fact that they only send five guys, that yet they still manage to get a decent amount of pressure most of the time. I think that'll obviously be their biggest challenge of the season. If this is the team that beat Ohio State, and Ohio State, I guess, kind of played with Miami, so it should be a good matchup. If I had to guess, I mean, this is good for me because whether Miami wins or Fernando wins, I'm happy, so I don't care. For the rest of you guys, I'm sure it'll be sad, but I'll be happy either way after that game. So hopefully, I'm hoping Indiana wins tonight and makes that the matchup.
All right. So if you're looking for tires, Tyler, New York. Well, New York, they don't have a store in New York, but here in Miami they have two stores. Balado Tires, 63 years established here in Miami, Northwest 16th Street and 27th Avenue, and Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue. They're very competitive with their prices. You have problems with your brakes, they repair your brakes. You think of tires, you think of Balado Tires. So, what's going on with the Dolphins, Tyler?
Well, obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard by now. Mike McDaniel is out. He is no longer the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins just also got a new general manager from the Green Bay Packers. He worked in, I believe, like player personnel. He was pretty high up in their front office, but at the end of the day, John Eric Sullivan is now the general manager of the Dolphins. I think something interesting. You notice how long Sullivan was part of the Packers. The
From
Packers have
2000,
almost
I think 2002.
yeah,
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
and we know the Packers' record with quarterbacks. In terms of scouting quarterbacks, they're 3 for 3 and really 4 for 4 if you count Matt Flynn, who was their backup, who ended up getting a huge contract as well a few years ago. So that this team's problem, seemingly a main one, has been identifying who the right signal caller to move forward with is. So you look at a case like this, maybe this will be the person they need. Maybe he understands what's needed, not just for a quarterback themselves, but for a quarterback's development. So it's not just about picking the right guy, in my opinion. It's also about surrounding them with the right pieces. Where maybe, let's say Tua was the right guy. That's not going to change the fact that they didn't surround him with a great offensive line, a good tight end, things of that nature. Where I think a guy like Sullivan, who's had great quarterbacks play in great offenses, understands how these guys need to get nurtured. So whoever this team decides for their quarterback of the future to be, I think he'll be in a better position. I'm not sure how you
Interesting,
feel.
Tyler. Just I'll throw it out there. You know, Trinidad Chambliss, they said no. The NCAA said no about a 6 year. So Ole Miss is going to go to court about it. But there is a possibility that Mr. Chambliss will be available. And, experts are saying late first round. So if that is the case, Miami will have an opportunity. Now, that GM, he's picked some big guys, and we know the story about Miami with Tua. So that is another thing to consider. But, Sullivan, by the way, the GM, is a very good evaluator, Tyler. That's a lot of people, that's what they're saying. A long time with Green Bay, so some possibilities with maybe the defensive coordinator for the Packers, Hayfley, I think is his last name. And then, of course, you got the guy at Denver, also as a possibility, Van Joseph, the defensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, defensive coordinator at Seattle, a team that has really stepped up this season, and John Harbaugh, but he's got they will have a lot of competition because there's like 5 or 6 teams interested in the veteran coach. But when a team, I don't know, leaves a coach like that, says goodbye to a coach like that that's been there so many years. He's 63 years old. I always worry a little bit about how, you know, uh, that edge. Is he going to have that edge? Is he going to be that hungry like he was when he was in, I don't know, his 30s? He was 35, 40 years old. You always wonder about that. So, I worry a little bit about it. I know he's a great coach, great career with the Ravens. But, the last 2 or 3 years, the team has not been as successful, and they have one of the best players in the league. So, you know,
Yeah, I
I would
think I
prefer a
think
younger
there's
guy.
there's kind of, in my opinion, two ways to kind of look at this. It could go the Pete Carroll way, or it can go the Andy Reid way. with if they get Harbaugh. Pete Carroll probably not going to last much longer for the Raiders. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. After a great career in Seattle, obviously a flop. But then you have a guy like Andy Reid who had a very long career with the Eagles, successful career, got let go by the Eagles, and then we see he's probably more known for being the coach of Kansas City now. Obviously winning all these Super Bowls. So it can go two ways. It can either. I think you also have to mention the fact that for a coach like that, being in the same spot for so long might lead to some complacency, some comfortability. You're in the same situation. There's not a kind of that fire lit under your butt like other ones. So maybe that was what he needed. And maybe a guy like Harbaugh wants to go somewhere else and prove himself and, reinvent himself. I think he's a great coach. I also think you need to consider the available options. I'm not a big fan of hiring coordinators. I like Harbaugh because he was a special teams coordinator. I think special teams coordinators make some of the best head coaches because that's more involving personnel and a collective unit. Where I think you see with McDaniel, you see with Flores, these coordinator experiments, it doesn't have as much to do with. It's more so strategy, but it's not about necessarily leading a football team, surrounding a team with the right pieces needed to succeed. So I hope they don't just go out there and get another super young, smart coordinator because it's just two different jobs. But moving forward, another more positive, I guess a little bit more positive. We got the Miami Heat. They were starting to do well. Now it's kind of back to being up and down now
Well,
a little bit more
yeah, up
inconsistent.
and down when you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Uh,
And then Khalil Ware. We talked about that in year three now, expected to kind of take that significant leap. We've seen the potential. We know what the guy's capable of,
no,
but
he's having numbers. He's having very good numbers.
the
Top
issue
15
is
in the league in rebounds, in percentage, 3-point percentage. He's
you
getting
need
good
to you,
numbers.
you need to do it when you're against the top guys, though. That's the problem. And I think you can probably speak on that a little bit more than I can. But those numbers are great. But at the end of the day, when you're facing an equal or somebody who should be viewed as an equal, you need to rise to the occasion. And I think you can still give him some grief. The guy's younger than me. He's a third-year player, still developing. But at some point, when you want to jump up a tier, go from being this tier of player to this tier of player, you need to show that you can compete with those guys on that tier.
Mhm. Oh, you said, I'm sorry, you said 3 years. He's in his second year. He's in
Where?
his second year. Yeah.
No, where is in his third year? Are you
Third
sure?
year? You sure? Okay. I thought he was in his second year. But maybe you can check it there just to be sure. I mean, that happens. I make a lot of
No, you're
mistakes.
no,
So,
you're right. You're right.
okay, second year. So, once in a while I have to be right, Tyler,
You
because
do.
you beat me all the time. So that's the way it goes. Now, I think Tyler, what's going on with him is, I think it's mental a lot of the time, and also toughness. Sometimes you have to be tough, especially that position. Some guys you're facing a 6'10", 7-footer, 7'1", weighs 260, 280 pounds, and if you're not very tough, or you don't project yourself to be tough, you get pushed around. And Gobert, for example, last couple of games versus Minnesota, very tough defense. They have a tough defense overall. Last game versus them, Miami was awful offensively. He himself, he did not contribute basically at all in that game. So Gobert actually killed him. So some of those games he has to do better, and I think it comes back to he has to be tougher, he has to be more physical, and everything I think starts here mentally. And they're working with him. You can see that they're working with him a lot, and he has gotten a lot better from last year. But there is quite a lot of room still for improvement, and that is good. I think that is very positive because he's got a lot of talent. And one thing that the Heat has, Tyler, is that they have a lot of players developing. Larson has developed a lot from last season. Jovic is a little up and down, but he's got that ability also that you can see that he can jump. Jankovic, the guy that they got, Yakuniosis, those names that kill me. They got in the first round this season. He's also developing, so that is a positive. When you look at this thing, and of course, Hero is more or less still in the same development, even though he's older. But defensively, definitely he can improve defensively. So still up and down. They have to be more consistent. And when they play a very good defense, Tyler, those defenses are adapting to that fast break offense, and that's when they're having some problems, because they're not connecting a lot of those 3 pointers. And if you don't connect 3 pointers in the NBA, most of the time you're gonna have problems. But you're not gonna have problems if you need tires and you're here in Miami, because you have the option of Balado tires. Yes, two locations: Northwest 27th Avenue and 16th Street. You're in the Southwest area. Well, Southwest 8th Street and 67th Avenue. They're competitive, very competitive with their prices. And that's important. And they have brake service. That is Balado tires. And what else do we have, Tyler?
We have this is my first time doing this segment, but we're recognizing a Miami legend. Who better to recognize than Mario Cristobal after last night? I think this is a quintessential Miami legend, somebody that, at this point, if you're not familiar with him, you better familiarize, because he's got the city in the palm of his hands. He's the head coach for the Miami Hurricanes, just took them to the national championship, but this is a Miami native Cuban American, went to Christopher Columbus High School, went ahead and played at Miami, was an all conference, all Big East selection there from 1988 to 1992. And then went on, played for a couple NFL training camps, went and played in Europe professionally before returning to Miami to coach. He started as a graduate assistant and then became the head coach at FIU. Actually got fired from FIU, which I find really interesting. And you go from being fired at FIU to being the head coach of a national championship team. But this is just somebody who, is representing the city in a great way. First Cuban American head coach in Division I history, which is also, another impressive accolade for him, but very proud of him. Obviously, I know the family very well. So do you. Great people. So shout out to them. And, I hope they can bring it home next week.
Yes, indeed, Mario Cristobal. We love that family, and what he has done for South Florida and for Miami, as far as going into that championship. And this is the beginning, like the song says. Tyler, Miami. Well, we talked about Miami Heat. I was going to go back to Miami Heat. No, Inter Miami. And I know that you like me to do this one because you don't feel that comfortable with Inter Miami. Inter Miami is doing what they need to do right now, signing players. They're aggressive, and they have signed some pretty good players in the last few days. They started with the goalkeeper from Minnesota, which was the goalkeeper of the year. And also, they went ahead and they signed Michael, defender from Palmeiras in the Brazilian league. He was here before with Houston in the MLS. So they had to get a good Brazilian defender, and maybe the guy that is gonna take Sergio Busquets' position in the team, which is very important. David Ayala, midfielder, was a member of Portland. He's only 23 years old. Played with Estudiantes de La Plata in Argentina, and of course they already signed a left winger, right winger. So they basically have most of the players that they need, and very good possibility as far as getting from Celta de Vigo Tadeo Allende, which is a very important part of this team last season and was very important as they were going into the MLS playoffs, and then when they went into the final. Tyler, Balado Tires, if you're looking for tires, that is the place to go. 63 years established in Miami. They're very competitive with their prices. So you're looking for tires, there's no better place than Balado Tires. But we're getting to the end of the podcast, Tyler, and we have one of our favorite segments, right?
Yes, I'll let you start off with this Miami sports trivia.
Yes, I'm ready to go, ready to rumble with this. And we were talking about Mario Cristobal, right?
Yes.
So let's keep talking about him. Tyler, this is a question. I think you should take care of this one. How many national titles has Mario Cristobal, how many titles has he won as a college player for UM?
Two.
There you go, two titles. Can you go ahead and tell me which one they were?
89, 91.
There you go. You got it. 89 and 91. There's some other players that have won two titles for UM in their history. They have five titles so far and looking for number six.
That's
Miami will go crazy, Tyler, if they get that number six. Those tickets are going over $3,000 for that championship game if you go, and you're getting an upper deck seat. So it
I'm
gives you an idea.
I'm hoping their PR team is kind enough to credential me because I cannot afford that, but I do want to go to that game. So we'll see how that turns out for me.
What do you have?
This is a we'll do another Miami Hurricanes question here for you. This is one actually I remember watching this game. Um, oh, and not to mention back to Mario Cristobal, he does have his rings, at Miami, but he also I believe has a few more as a coach from his time at Alabama, where he was one of the best recruiters in the country. I think he won Assistant Coach of the Year there. Moving on, another Miami Hurricanes question. Who you called this game? It wasn't long ago, so you should remember it toward your end of your Canes career. Who has thrown for the most yards in a single game in Miami Hurricanes history? And I'll give you a hint. He went to my high school. He went to Pace.
He went to Pace.
Single game passing yards.
Oh,
He was a very up and down quarterback. He'd have his great games. He'd have his really bad games.
yeah, it was like in 2000. Yeah, like in 2010, 2012, something like that. He was around,
2012.
right?
You got the year right. You got the year right. Can you get me a
Yeah,
number?
but by
Give me a
Tyler,
number.
those I can see him playing right now. I can see him playing. A tall guy, and sort of skinny, didn't have that much weight on him, right? Am I seeing the right guy?
You're getting there. This is
But yeah, but Tyler, the
can you give
name,
me a
the name. Tell me who it is, Tyler.
I'll
I'm
give
seeing
you
him playing.
can you give me a number?
I think he was number 12, but I'm not absolutely sure.
12 was Ja'Cory Harris. This is the quarterback after Harris.
Oh, I thought I was thinking of Harris.
No, this is Stephen Morris.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Stephen Morris.
Stephen
So
Morris
I was
pace.
there. I was there.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler,
You
you
got the
got
year
me
right.
again.
You got the year.
I got struck out, with the bases loaded. Hey, we have done number 70, Tyler. Follow us, YouTube, Facebook, of course, TikTok. We're Abuelo and the Nieto talking Miami sports. Hasta luego. Arrivederci.